36 years of basketball knowledge and life skills. Your host, Coach Goins, focuses on today's topics on and off the court, helping players and coaches achieve their goals. So get ready for another fast break episode of Basketball More Than a Game with your host, Coach Goins.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is your host, Coach Goins, and welcome to another fast break episode of Basketball More Than a Game, the hottest podcast this side of heaven. So listen, we're so excited about the avenues that we're going to be rolling down tonight, but you know what? We're not going to quite let the cat out of the bag because we got to make sure that we're paying the bills to stay on the air. So first things first, we want to make sure we thank our title sponsor, and that's none other than Mr. Curtis Jackson, the independent insurance agent in North Carolina and also serving Southern Virginia. So for your insurance needs, please reach out to Curtis at area code 919-614-5796 and let him know that you heard about what he's doing for the citizens of North Carolina as well as the Commonwealth of Virginia during his insurance business. So thank him and his staff. And again, area code 919-614-5796, and just tell Curtis thank you so much for what he does and thank him so much for his continued support of Basketball More in the Game. And you can also check us out on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, as well as Facebook, Lionfish Entertainment out of the Los Angeles, California. Also the Purpose League. Both of those sites are hosted by my good friend, Mr. Ralph Sampson. And you can also check us out at coachgoins.podbean.com. But listen, now that we've got all those preliminary things out of the way, we're going to kind of let the cat out of the bag and kind of tell you who we've got on the podcast tonight. And that's none other than Sergeant First Class out of the great state of Virginia, stationed in Norfolk, and it was just so happy to have on none other than one of my former players, Mr. Andrew Sheppard. Andrew, welcome to Basketball More in the Game.
How you doing, Coach? Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, it's more than a pleasure. So listen, folks, as a coach, and we're going to kind of challenge you coaches out there, don't ever underestimate the power or the influence that you have in somebody's life. And again, as a coach, and now that I've got one of my former players on, and we've had multiple guys on the show over the last year that we've been doing this. But as we continue to saturate the United States and we're continuing to grow, we're in 50 states and we're in 20 foreign countries with the podcast, and we continue to thank you for all of the emails and the texts and all the questions that you have on. But Andrew, you know what? We're not going to be talking about basketball more in the game tonight. We're going to be talking about you, what you're doing, how you're achieving everything that you're achieving. So, the first part of the podcast, we always call the fast break. And what we want to do, we really want to get into, so our listeners and all of our subscribers know who Andrew is. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and drop it over on, put the ball in your hands and let you kind of run this offense for the night. So if you don't mind, just, give us a little bit about who you are, your background, and we'll go from there.
Okay, Coach, thank you. Yes, again, I'm Andrew Sheppard. I'm from Bass, North Carolina, a graduate of Union Pines High School, class of 99. I enlisted in the Army shortly after, and I've been in for 19 years and 6 months now. So I'm finishing my Army career. I'm stationed here in Virginia at Fort Eustis. And other than being a soldier, I'm a volunteer teacher at Woodside High School, and I'm a mentor of the youth here in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia. I published two novels. One, The Lamb of Jackson Hamlet, a story based in North Carolina about a man trying to save his marriage during the civil rights era, while his community is being torn apart by racial injustice. Focusing on salvaging what means the most to him, and it was a real pleasure writing that story, especially being able to to document some of the stories I've heard as a child. With some of the locations that I visit even now.
Wow. That's, and that, here's the thing, folks. And just, what a humble beginning, a young man has worked hard and just always just had that edge about him. And think about it. He's been in the military almost 20 years. So when we hooked up a couple of weeks ago, and after I saw that, he was, again, on the grind, trying to make a difference in people's lives, I just had to reach out and be able to say, there's no way I can continue to do what I do without giving him an opportunity or a platform, if you will, to be able to jump on the airways and really talk about this. So in that, here's the thing, what I really want to challenge all of you young guys as I was reading a little clip from the book, and we'll talk about that, and that's what we're going to be really diving into is just your ability as an individual. What really motivated? Where did you? I'm going to say the light at the end of the tunnel. As you started, you've been in the military. I'm going to say 20 years because I just want to stay on the whole numbers. 19 years and 6 months. But when did you realize that you had that craft to be able to put pen to the paper?
Well, Coach, as you know, I spent 10 years off and on the Army boxing team. And when we wasn't competing athletically, we visited a lot of towns, a lot of cities, and talked to the youth, about various opportunities in life and in the military in general. And some places I went to, I noticed that the optimism for education wasn't where it needs to be. And a lot of kids, you ask them what they want to do, where they're going, and most of them don't talk about life outside of home or off the corner. So during that time, I was completing my bachelor's degree, and I had to write a short story. So I wrote one, based off of some of those experiences and those conversations, with our youth. And it flowed well, and I enjoyed it. And being able to share some of those stories with future kids that I talked to in school, was encouraging to them and to me. So it really it became natural, that I wanted to write, and I wanted to write in an influential way.
And that's what's so powerful. And so for all you young guys out there listening to, here's a man. First of all, thank you so much for your support and your service for the United States, through your 19 years and 6 months in the military. But most importantly, the thing that I really wanted to capture is just your willingness and through the life experiences to be able to put pen to paper and just talk about the individual responsibilities. I think a lot of times where people go wrong is they want to really latch on, or in today's society we want to play the blame game, to be able to say oh, coach, I couldn't get this done because, or I couldn't get over here because, instead of stopping and realize a lot of this, we've got to own it. We've got to be able to stop and say, what, I can lace up my shoes. I know how to tie a knot. I know to make sure I can keep my shoes on. But in that, we really want to start blaming everybody. Can you kind of elaborate on that as it relates to what you've gone through in your career?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Coach, I love being an American soldier. I believe that America is the greatest country on earth. And saying that, I've been to about 20 different countries, and seeing some people, whether in Kuwait, whether in India, or in various parts of Europe, do make the most out of nothing. Seeing young people living in huts, but he look in their eyes is full of optimism because they hustle. If they're even wearing shoes, they lace up their boots, and they go out there and support their families in the best way they can. And so I think about myself, growing up in Vast, and I was one of those kids, who thought about stuff that I wish I had, stuff that I didn't have. But what I didn't realize then, and what I'm so happy for now, is that I had a free education. I had public schools. I had teachers who who not only put a basketball in my hand, but put a book in my hand also. So and knowing that it's only right for me to emphasize, the importance of taking advantage of every opportunity. And when you think about things you don't have, consider what you do have, because we all have just a little more than what we need to be successful.
Wow. You know what, folks? You heard it right here on Basketball More in the Game. We have Sergeant First Class and also author. And the latest and greatest book that he has put the pen to is called Mirrors, okay? And here's the thing that I love about this book. And, again, I've already ordered mine, and hopefully this thing will be in, because actually I fly out. I'll be in Haiti for a week, and I leave out Thursday morning. So hopefully my book will be here. So when I'm on the island, I will definitely be able to lock myself and take care of business in that room. But listen what the tagline says here. It says, voices from the past can influence the future. Voices from the past can influence the future. So as we take a look at this from a coaching aspect and as well as from a player's aspect or even a parent's aspect, think about what Andrew just framed out. He framed that, sometimes, sometimes we have a little more than what we really need. And then we've got to be able to leverage that and be able to, take a hard stance and be able to look and say, am I doing all that I can do? Is there anything that I can actually, go out and give back and make sure? And here's one of the things I want to call out. I know, and don't really want to let the cat out of the bag, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to kind of hold back on that and kind of let you set this platform up, Andrew. So tonight, I know you had an event, and I know we are recording everything down tonight, and this will be airing tomorrow morning for our weekly show. But in that tonight, you were at an event. Can you kind of share where you were tonight and what you were doing?
Yes, sir. Yes. I had the great opportunity to speak about my book at a domestic violence awareness event in Norfolk, Virginia, and it was awesome. I mean, there was so many women there speaking their truths, talking about what they survived from, talk about what they overcame, and even more than that, there was a lot of young men there, and I had the opportunity to impart in some of those young men, the importance of manhood, and then the stories they were hearing, wasn't just for entertainment. Obviously, it was to let them know the responsibility that they have as young men and the outcome of such decisions.
And that's what, because when we're all faced with that every single day. We're faced with decisions, and again, you players, what I'm going to challenge you with, get that coach. It may not be your basketball coach. It could be a coach of any sport, but find that adult that you can rely on, that you can lean on, and really, really, deep, find that cutting edge and be able to have somebody that you can sit down and have that hardcore, conversation with and say, this is what I'm dealing with. How can I continue to move forward? What do I need to do when I'm faced with a crossroad? So in that, you said that you've been to, over 20 foreign countries. Can you just kind of elaborate some of the duty stations that you've been?
Yes, sir. Yes. I was stationed in Germany for almost 3 years, and while being there, you can almost drive to about 6 different countries while you're in Germany, and I flew to a few while I was there. And during my time on the Army boxing team, we traveled quite a bit within the continental U.S. and abroad. Yeah, I boxed in Azerbaijan, near the Soviet Union. I boxed in India. I boxed in Germany, and I've been deployed a couple of times to Kuwait, Iraq, and Bahrain. I spent some time in Turkey and in Camp Doha. So the military really has given me a broad understanding of the world, and and with that, it gave me motivation to write, because a lot of times the people who I've ran into here, the young people that I teach at the high school, or the ones that I have mentored at places like the juvenile detention center, a lot of them have never left their area code, their zip code, and all they see, I guess they're the best they can view themselves as being are the people, tangible, who's right there. Because a lot of times, unfortunately, when people become successful, they move away. So a lot of the young people don't have anybody tangible to say, hey, I want to be like him. And with our culture, and I was the same growing up. You never look at the heroes that's present, the coaches, the teachers, the pharmacists, the nurse, the manager at the neighborhood store. We don't really look at them, as role models the way we should. We look at, the ones who are not there, the basketball players, the actors and rappers and everything. So, it really made me want to emphasize, those tangible resources, that we have, and in the military, having seen what I've seen, it made it my responsibility to do so.
You know what? Now, as eloquently put, my good friend. And here's the thing, folks. Think about it. I'm going to put you on the spot there, Andrew. So think about 20. Let's go back 25 years ago. Do you see yourself boxing all over the world?
No. no,
Do you see yourself traveling to 20 different countries?
no. Back then, Coach, I couldn't see myself doing. Wow, and it's sad, but true. My view of the world was so far fetched. The opportunities that I've had, I didn't see them. Playing basketball at Vast Park was heaven to me.
Right.
I had no problem at 14, 15. I had no problem, going down as a park legend, and because I didn't know too many people that I could say that I knew was doing too much more.
Right.
So and one thing I noticed, what comes to mind while we're here talking now, is that kids don't know how much they got in common with successful people. I mean, we think that there's some special gift, or there's just some unattainable thing that somebody did to become successful, when it's a path that's been paved a long time ago. Who just got to follow it. And a lot of our influences, suggest otherwise.
Wow.
And I knew then, if I would just compete academically, the way I competed athletically, I could get there. But my influences, had me doing other things, whether it was girls and just partying and thinking that basketball, was fun. But yeah, so everything I needed was there 25 years ago. It's just I didn't see enough people following that path, and so I wasn't very confident in it.
Wow. You know what? And that's so true. That is true. And again, here's the call out, right? Is we've all been there. We get out, we live our life, we have coaches, we have people. And he just, think about what he just said, folks, from everywhere from the store manager to the pharmacist. They're successful people, your coaches, your teachers. But, we get caught up what we see on the screen, on the big screen, dribbling the ball, running the ball, and we think everybody – we all grow up thinking that I'm going to play in the NFL, I'm going to be in the NBA, just because of the glamour. And a lot of times, we don't stop and smell the roses, if you would, and really tap into the people that we have around us. But what Mr. Andrew Sheppard is doing now, he stopped. When I say he stopped, meaning he's taking time out of his busy schedule. He's taking everything that he's learned from the days and vast of being out in being that park legend. He's traveled the world. He's defended our country with honor. He's boxed around the world representing the United States. And now he's taking time out as a volunteer teacher. He's doing social events, spreading the word in reference to the latest book that is out. It is called Mirrors. And in that, I just want to highlight here, it says complete 45 days of encouragement and influence daily readings. Mirrors engages self-identity of a young African males. So that's the thing. So I'm going to call your young African males out, as well as the other young men that may listen to the podcast, but especially to our young brothers that are out there, is find that person. Find you an Andrew Sheppard. If you don't know who he is, we're going to talk about where he can, where you can go ahead, get on here and find his book and read his book. But when you pick this book up, to me, I don't have it yet, but it's on the way. But in that, it's so powerful because as this young man standing outside, he looks in the mirrors, and there's such powerful, influential people that are in the mirror, and then he sees himself standing in the mirror. Now, let's talk about that, if you don't mind. How did you come about? Who influenced, and how did you come about with such beautiful artwork for the front of this book?
Coach, well, I wanted to show, the kind of in a nutshell what the story was going to be about, about a young man by the name of Terrell Hayes, who he's just a regular kid, a regular teenager who found himself going down the wrong path, following the influences of him today. I mean, whether it's certain forms of rap music or something he see on TV or the neighborhood guys around him, just following that influence. And then suddenly he started to see visions and hear voices of African American leaders from the past, and they started to guide him down a better way. And I had to do a lot of research because I wanted to use direct quotes from these leaders. as Maya Angelou, Martin Luther King, W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Malcolm X, so many others, and use their direct quotes, to guide Terrell's steps, so he could get to the potential that he has. So I wanted to show him looking into the mirror and not just seeing himself, but seeing those around him. Because I believe myself now and many others, if we look in the mirror and think about those that guide us, where we're at, we're not by ourselves. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when I look in the mirror and think about all I've done in life, and those who I have to thank for it, it's not just me. It's my mother. It's so many people at Union Pines. So many people, from 1994 to 2018.
And that's so cool. And you know what? And I appreciate that. I mean, I just appreciate. I can hear it in your heart, and I can see it, through the work that you're constantly doing. And I know your mother's proud of everything that you're getting accomplished. But just when I see this book, and here's one of the things I really want to call out. I just at the top of the and again, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag for everybody that's listening and going to be able to go out and pick up your copy of this. But when I see Arthur Ashe on this page, it just really, it really took me back, because as a young man at my age, Arthur Ashe was, he was the only, black male, tennis player. And then you've got him on the front cover of this. And a lot of times he's lost in the sauce, if you will. People forget, you say Arthur Ashe and they kind of look at you with a, kind of like, who is that? But again, I just want to appreciate you for doing your homework. And seeing fit that he has an opportunity to be on the cover of the book. But just what an awesome, when I saw this, I was like, this is, I'm going to be honest with you, Andrew, when I saw this cover and I started reading this thing, I was like, you know what, I've got to reach out. I've got to stop what I'm doing, and I've got to have Andrew on this show. Number one, to get the word out. Number two, to allow you to have a platform to be able to, so people can hear from your heart. Because again, we're in 50 states in the United States. We've only got a couple more states to go. We'll be in everybody here in the U.S., and we're in 20 foreign countries. So again, it's my job, as I always tell my listeners, Andrew, it's my job to put the best of the best that we can, whether it's here in the studio or a person via telephone, as Andrew is doing tonight. But our job here is to make sure that we're trying to influence people. Don't get caught up in the title of the podcast, Basketball More in the Game, because it is more in the game. It's taught me a lot of things. It's taught me how to coach young men like Andrew. And then my success, my reward comes in when I'm able to look back and see a young man that at one point in time was at the same school that I was at, and that, through our hard work and then his hard work and then him understanding the responsibility he has as an individual, he picked up the baton. He didn't let, him being from Bass, North Carolina, I didn't let me being from Southern Pines, North Carolina, hold us back. We understood that, sometimes you got to get in the water and go get it. And a lot of times people want to stand on the dock and wait till their ship comes in. But, that's neither here nor there. But it's not about Coach Goins. It's all about what Andrew is getting done. So listen, I just want to certainly appreciate you digging down into a little bit of that. Now, what we're going to do, we want to kind of move our attention into another phase of the podcast, which we call In the Paint. And In the Paint is where we really dig down, find out what's really going on, where your passion is, where your heart, where you see yourself going. And this part of the podcast is sponsored by Act Sports. Act Sports, so those of you that are listening and know, here in Augusta County, Act Sports is the largest growing sports organization. So actually tomorrow we'll be kicking off our open gym. So if you're interested in Act Sports, and again, that's recreational youth sports, you can go to playactsports.com and you can be able to see what registration is open. Currently, it's travel volleyball for young ladies, and we have a co-ed basketball, and also we have travel basketball, and that's through Act Sports, and we just thank them for their continued support of Basketball More in the Game. So we're moving into this part of the podcast, what we call In the Paint. And what we're going to talk about here a little bit, Andrew, is talk about, how do you balance work? How do you balance your time as an author? And how do you balance family? So if you don't mind, if you don't share a little bit of your philosophy on those.
Well, Coach, wow, work, I guess I am very fortunate that my time in the military is yeah, I kind of make my own schedule, so to speak. So it allows me, to, I guess, to follow my heart in some ways. And as you know, I'm from North Carolina, and every chance I get, I get on the road and visit family, especially now that I'm back on the East Coast, because I moved away in 2001, to Fort Lewis, Washington.
Wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, and I haven't lived in North Carolina since 2001. So, just being this close, is very, very gratifying, and I'm grateful for that. And my passion, my I guess what drives me is, to encourage and influence, in ways that I was encouraged when I was younger, but now being older, I kind of understand, like, why I didn't listen to certain things. So I'm trying to show these kids in a way, to make it resonate with them, because a lot of times we make, well, as a child, and somebody is talking to you, somebody's preaching to you, they make it seem like life or death, but when in fact, it is. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
When I was a Union Pines coach, y'all used to say, what you do for the next 4 years is going to dictate what you do for the next 40 years. And it didn't make any sense to me at the time. But it does, because of the work ethic, at the very least, the work ethic that you put into practice in high school, it doesn't change overnight. You're not going to go to college. You're not going to go to college where you got that freedom, where your parents are hovering and instantly start doing better. You set things in practice. You set a standard. And that's one thing I try to tell the youth here, whether it's the teams at my church, at the high school, or wherever, that you really have to start seeing things, in a serious way. And writing this book and learning about people like Arthur Ashe and Booker T. Washington and Martin Luther King and Maya Angelou, Harriet Tubman, so on and so forth. They didn't have the freedoms we have now, and they didn't have the opportunities we have now. So they saw education as life or death, because they knew that it was going to determine if they would be working, on a plantation field, or at a factory, or if they would have a job where, they felt dignified, or have some kind of life where they felt dignified. And that's something that I try to press upon people today, young adults and young people, because as you know, us males mature a little late sometimes, and, which, it's not all bad, because, you still have time as long as you're still breathing.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. That's exactly. And that's the thing, folks. And as Andrew, as he's rolling down through, and he's dropping these dimes on us tonight, my heart. And again, I'm excited. One, because you know what, that's what it's about. It's about, we go to work every day. You are trying to, foster that relationship. You're trying to be there for the individuals as well. Not just as a coach, but as a man, as another black man, especially when you're in the hallways of the schools, and you see these young men, and you see the potential. And I know potential is just a word, but you see the potential in the individual, and that's where you just maybe sometimes you want to pull that person off to the side and giving them an encouraging word. And as he just eloquently put that, and that's the thing, is it's understanding the process. It's understanding, I have to work hard, in the classroom just as well as I do on the court, because I just can't turn it on and turn it off when I walk out and I barely got my high school diploma, and then all of a sudden you think I'm just going to go ahead and be a Rhodes Scholar and I'm going to get up and go to work every day. It is a process, and I certainly appreciate you just really, really, driving that home. So listen, we've been talking about the. Let me ask you this right here. So, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Coach, in 5 years, I see myself publishing about 3 more books, and I'm working on a movie for this book, an independent film that I was very fortunate to film at the local high school and at the local courthouse here in Newport News, Virginia. But yeah, I plan on making a film out of my first novel between now and the next 3 years, and with that, regaining, the relationship with my family that the Army has separated me for so long, and getting more embedded into the fabric of North Carolina, because I really want to give back there, because I've only been able to have my footprint in outside states, whether it was Colorado, Washington, here in Virginia, and then overseas. But I haven't been able, to really give my time, my energy, to North Carolina, and I have to, because that's home, and so that's where I want to do the most work.
I understand that. There's no place like home. So listen, I want to toss this to you. So when you start working that way toward your film, you definitely make sure that you let me know what you got popping, and all the resources that I have, the names that I have that we can possibly share, and I can whatever I can do on my end, and whatever basketball more than the game can do for you going forward. We're here for you always, and I'm just a phone call away to make sure that anything that we can, because as it always says, it's all about networking. And what we try to do is make sure that we put in, connecting the dots is the big thing. And that's the big thing that I've learned from some of the partners that I've acquired, doing this podcast over the last year. So listen, kind of want to talk a little bit about sports. It's a sports show, so I got to ask you a couple questions. So what's your take on LeBron going to the Lakers?
I think it's good for basketball, Coach. As far as the Lakers, as far as the championship run, as things are currently, I don't see it. I'm not certain that LeBron went there with championships in mind. He definitely had some other opportunities, I think. But LeBron's one of the greatest players ever. He's certainly not number one. I'm a Michael Jordan fan, true and true.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry, you're breaking up on this. No, I'm just playing. Go ahead.
I tried not to allow how basketball is currently played. The rules, to diminish today's athletes, because obviously back then it was tougher. The competition was tougher.
Right.
In any generation, any time, LeBron would have been a great player. The Lakers, a storied franchise. Well, as long as things are going on in Golden State as they are now, I don't see that tree being cut down anytime soon.
Wow. I like how you put that. That is excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the one and only Mr. Andrew D. Sheppard. He is the author of Mirrors, and he is a former graduate of Union Pines High School. He is Sergeant First Class in the United States military stationed in the Commonwealth of Virginia. 19 years and 6 months on the grind for this great country, and we just want to, again, just thank him so much for sharing exactly what's in his mind, what's in his heart, and his passion, and you hear it. And that's so important in today's game. And again, not a young man. I mean, think about it. He's a young man to me because, again, I coached him back in the day, but he is a grown man. And again, he's absolutely, done great things and will continue to do great things. So make sure, I want everybody to make sure that you dial this in. I want you to share it, and make sure that you kick this as much as we can kick it, because it will be out on Monday morning at 8 o'clock for everybody to hear. But we just want to just celebrate what this young man is getting done for not just the citizens of the Commonwealth, but as you heard him say, as he continues to push that passion toward South, toward North Carolina, and we're just going to wish him, Godspeed, and wish him many blessings and I know what he's going to do. He's going to get in Moore County. He's going to light Moore County up like no other. So I see great things coming in his way, and we just want to make sure that we partner. And if anybody hears this, and I know you will, anybody wants to challenge, make sure you hit Coach Goins up, and we'll make sure we get that information to Andrew so he can continue with his passion. So listen, Andrew, I'm going to kick it over to you for your final comments, and then I'll be back to wrap everything up. Andrew.
Coach, well, first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity. I mean, it means a lot to not only, talk about myself and what I'm doing on your podcast, but to catch up, being away for so long. Yeah, you kind of lose that connection with home. So I really appreciate that. And everything we talked about, it was great. It was great. And I would just encourage anybody who has questions to reach out to me at www.pennedproductions.com, or email me directly at pennedproductions@gmail.com. And I would love to communicate, and I would love to come to speak, to any function or organization, or group of people. It would be my pleasure.
Excellent, excellent. You know what? So, folks, you've heard it right there from none other than, once again, Sergeant First Class Andrew D. Sheppard, author of Mirrors. Penned Influence Volume 1 is out, and it is absolutely taken over by storms. And I have to hit the tagline once again, because when I read this tagline, I just knew. I was like, you know what, this is absolutely off the chart. It says voices from the past can influence the future. So again, author is Andrew D. Sheppard, and you just heard him on Basketball More Than the Game. So as we start closing out, listen what it says in Jeremiah 7:23. Obey my voice, and I will be your God. So listen, this is Coach Goins. I got to get out of here. I got to get this gym floor cleaned up. And as we always say, make sure you give back. Make sure you help others. And as always, I will see you in the gym.